What's up, everybody? Bandit and Chad here for kind of a special video. So we have acquired a new project truck. We are in it right now, and it's a 1997 Dodge Dakota. And I know what you're probably thinking, a 1997 Dodge Dakota is pretty insignificant, and that may be the case for probably almost 100% of you all, but this was my granddad's old pickup, and he's had it since probably roughly around the year 2000. And everywhere that I ever went with my granddad was in this truck. So it really means a lot to me. I can't tell you all the things that we even begun to do in this thing. But you know, in the long and short of it all, I learned how to fish out of this truck. I learned how to hunt out of this truck. And we made a lot of good memories out of this truck. And you know, it really does mean a lot to me. Right. So what are our plans for this thing? Well, that's kind of where it starts to get interesting. There's a horse. Show him the horse, Chad. Look at that horse. That's it.
Well, right behind the cars, there's the horse.
There's the horse.
That's being led around.
How we doing?
Has its coat on because it is a bit of a colder day here, very beginning of April.
That's right. But we're not here to talk about horses. We're here to talk about goats or small rams or whatever you call this thing.
Which is what this old Dakota is,
right,
correct?
Right. So this platform is shared mainly with the Dodge Durango, and neither one of which is really a great setup for off-road driving. It does have a torsion bar setup in the front, similar to what you'd find in a Ford Ranger, and leaf sprung out back. The Durango is the same way. This particular one has the V6 in it. They also offered an arrangement of V8s. Really, the V6, at least in my experience, and not necessarily just with this truck, but overall, the V6 is very, very reliable. This one is paired with a 5-speed stick, which is great. Nice long truck-like throws, and honestly, it makes it a lot more fun off-road. And obviously, it is 4-wheel drive there as well. But overall, this has been a really great truck for my granddad. Again, he's had it for, what does that make it? Almost 20 years now. And he just passed the torch on to me. We're at almost 130,000 miles, and the truck is still going strong. So the reason we haven't introduced it before right now is it did need a couple things to pass inspection. We had to do some brake work and everything else, but as of right now, everything is going great with the truck, and I have really enjoyed driving it. But overall, the modifications that we plan on making to this thing are going to be pretty substantial, right? Right.
It seems like there's already some things happening to it. Now, this is not a teaser for what is happening with this truck. This truck is not getting super swampers. Those are just being transported at the moment. That's what we're on our way to do right now.
Right.
But yeah, I'm really excited because to keep up with the theme of the channel, we did have that old FJ80, the old Land Cruiser, which also happened to be a white goat. In that case, actually, it was a very, very overweight goat by comparison. You might almost want to call that the horse that we just saw back there.
Right, but basically, we started the FJ80 project, the Land Cruiser project, in terms of trying to get an affordable off-roader. And unfortunately, with Land Cruisers, that doesn't really happen. If you have the newer ones, they do share a lot of components with a lot of the US spec other products that Toyota makes, but the 80 series Land Cruisers in particular don't share a lot of parts, and finding a lot of those parts is kind of a challenge. We did get a lot of help from Sparks Parts, our friends down there in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. A huge thanks to them. But it got to the point where, you know, to do a lift on that vehicle or to really make it even more off-road capable with lockers or anything else, we got into pricing it, and it would be in the thousands of dollars instead of just cheap little fixes. I mean, obviously you could weld the rear end, but that's really the only thing that we didn't do that could have been a cheap fix for that thing. With this, it is at the root of it all an old truck, and you can do all sorts of things to old trucks, and especially it being a Dodge, you know, any of the big three in America, you can find parts for very, very easily. The parts are pretty cheap, and it should be an easy truck to keep on the road. But like we talked about before, this is not the most off-road capable platform to begin with. We can make some upgrades to it, and we have already. We installed a new Pioneer radio. That's been great, has Bluetooth connectivity. Obviously that doesn't help you a whole lot off-road, but we also added some new tires. We'll show you those when we get out here, and again, some new brakes, and everything that I just mentioned aside from the radio was needed for inspection. But overall, we are getting there, and when we get to our destination here, we'll show you exactly what's going on. It is kind of an entertaining process that we're going through here. So this is a Dodge Dakota Sport model, which basically, like any of even the new Sport models, does give you some color match bumpers and the like. But this is kind of a reasonably well-equipped truck. It does have good old-fashioned crank windows, but it does have power adjustable mirrors and cruise control, which is really great. Again, it is paired with that 5-speed stick, which I would definitely prefer. You know, back here in the 90s, automatics were abysmal at best, and I mean, comparatively to now, you might even think that modern transmissions that are automatics are not real great. But overall, this truck is a joy to drive. Again, I realize it probably doesn't mean a whole lot to you all, but this truck really means a lot to me. I've had all kinds of adventures in this thing, and it is going to be an absolute blast adding this to the Bandit fleet. So here's a look at the old Dodge here. It is an extended cab model. We just put these tires on it. You can see I've been getting some use out of those. We'll have videos of all that coming soon, but they're Achilles Desert Hawk, I think that says XMTs, and these have been really, really good tires. A couple of my friends I know have used these tires. These are 32 by 1150s on a 15-inch rim, and these things have been great. They got shipped to my door from Simple Tire for $450, and that is an absolute steal for a set of 4, especially for this size tire. I am very, very happy with the truck. Like I said, you can see we've been having a little bit of fun in the thing, and we have these tires. Now you might be asking yourself, what could these tires possibly be for? And that's where it gets interesting. Show them, Chad.
It's for this thing.
That's right, this thing. Now, you're probably thinking this is the biggest piece of crap you've ever seen in your whole life, and you're only half correct. Basically, we were talking about solid axle swapping the Dodge, and I started pricing axles and everything, and then we found this thing that came up on Craigslist. It was actually one of our friends of a friend that had this, and the reason we bought this thing is because of the hardware that's on it. We're looking at a Dana 44 up front, a Ford 9-inch in the rear, and a Dana 300 transfer case. Now, I envisioned just, you know, buying this thing, taking what I want off of it, and scrapping the rest. And honestly, for the $400 I paid for it, that would still be a pretty good deal. But we got home, spent a couple of minutes with this thing, and the engine fired right up. Now, what this thing started life as is actually a 1966 International Scout 800. So you're looking at an International 266 V8 under there, and this Dana 44 is actually the original from the Scout. Since then, someone has made it into a tube buggy. It looks like to go rock crawling of some sort. It is pretty interesting how this thing is built. From what I've been told, the guy that originally built this thing was on a pretty good budget and really just wanted to go four-wheeling, and made basically any modification he could to make this thing go four-wheeling on a budget. So he made somewhat of kind of like a 3-link setup up front. You can see here, instead of normal trailing arms, they're actually just leaf packs cut in half and mounted to that Dana 44. Then it's coil sprung, and these are actually just heim joints for all of your steering components up front. Basically for the rear, it's just a leaf sprung Ford 9-inch, but the shackles, the way they're done, is pretty interesting. I'm sure when this thing actually does go to flex out, it would be pretty interesting to say the least. But basically, like I said, we got this thing to fire up in only a couple of minutes. It did come with those tires that are there in the bed of the Dodge. So I figure we'll get it mounted up. We'll at least ride it around a couple times and see exactly how it is. We have, you know, a field to play in. I definitely don't want to take this thing on the road. It does have square drive shafts, so I'm sure they're not balanced to any degree. But again, we're talking about a $400 piece of machinery here, and all of the components I can use. I can use the front axle, I can use the rear axle, I can use the Dana 300 transfer case, all of which will bolt up to the Dodge with a little bit of modification. But basically, we're gonna play with this thing and see exactly how it goes, and then long term, we're gonna build a rock crawler out of the Dodge. It should be a really awesome experience. Again, it probably doesn't make sense to you all, but this truck really does mean a lot to me. You know, sentimental value really it really starts to weigh on you after a while. But definitely want to use this thing. I want to, you know, have a lot of fun in it, and I think this would be an awesome project, and we are in it for you know, a pretty good price to start off with. So for right now, we are going to get these wheels and tires mounted up, see exactly how this thing looks, and we'll send you all over to some B-roll of us firing this thing up and rolling it around on the wheels from the other day.
Keep going, keep going.
Oh my goodness. What are the odds of that? That's the easiest thing we've ever done.
Fill her up again.
It runs.
Watch the fence.
Drag it forward.
Hey! That's all it'll do.
That four-wheel? Light them up! Look at that! So we got the beast here mounted on some 38-inch tall super swampers. Yeah, so this is what we got. Again, everything you see here I bought for 400 bucks. We did add a new fuel pump to it. Unfortunately, I had to go to the Advanced store, get a Holley fuel pump. Not real proud of that one. That set me back 50 bucks, but I guess all in all, we're still under $500 here, and this is what we got. So this thing looks absolutely huge. I'm not sure, Chad, stand beside it for comparison here.
So I'm a 5'10" individual, and it's taller than me. It's more about your height, probably closer to 6 foot, a little bit over maybe 6'2" or so, but this thing is quite a beast. So when I had learned that this was the next acquisition for the channel, I did not quite realize exactly what it was going to be used for, and if we were going to be using it as the buggy that it is. But like Bandit said, there's definitely a lot of potential for the parts and pieces on here that could possibly further the Dodge Dakota build.
Right, so you can probably tell here, but we probably need some air for that tire before we go too far. The rest of them are holding just fine. We also might want to invest in some new lug nuts, but a huge fan of this color for this wheel. That is pretty cool. But yeah, you can see the inside here. That's a Scout dash and everything like that. They added this grab handle, I'm sure, for the passenger. Might also want to invest in some floorboards. We got the old exhaust here with the old flapper. Pretty cool. And all this stuff in the little bed also came with it. We got plenty of shocks, brake booster, an extra steering motor there, another steering one there. Whoever did all of this actually converted the whole thing to hydro. So we got hydraulic brakes and steering here off of this We do have to mount the steering box back on here and get all of this mounted up, and also our steering wheel is currently a racing steering wheel because it quick detaches and also pulls right out of the sleeve that it's in. So really all we really need to drive this thing is some air in that tire, a little bit of gas, and 4 bolts here. So pretty exciting times. But again, I paid $400 for all this, and honestly, if you were to go buy a Dana 44, a Ford 9-inch in the rear, and that Dana 300 transfer case, which is a really popular setup throughout all of this, it would set you back normally a lot more than $400. And this is how we're gonna build that truck actually on a budget. So $400 rock buggy scout thing combined with the 97 Dakota that my granddad gave me, and you're probably starting to figure out where this is going. So we are super excited about it. Thank you all for joining in. Obviously we have a lot of work to do, and we'll keep you updated on exactly how all of this goes, but again, we are super pumped about all of this. It's kind of one of those things that took a turn and we were not expecting any of this, but it is going to be a lot of fun. So again, thank you all for joining us. If you did enjoy this video, please consider liking and subscribing to the channel to see exactly where all of this goes. But thank you all very much for watching. Have a fantastic week, everybody. We'll catch you next time.
See you guys.